This is Defiance Daily, dispatches for the defiant. And if you have joined us before, you know that Wednesday is a special day. This is our weekly mission briefing. Every single day, we do the news on this show. We do the pro-democracy news about what's happening in this country. We highlight the abuses of power. But every Wednesday is a special opportunity where we announce actions we are going to take, that you can take, to fight back against these abuses of power. Not once a month, not once a quarter, every single week, Defiance.org, the Club for Courageous Americans, is taking action to push back against the lawlessness of the federal government under Donald Trump. And we've got a big show today. We've got a lot of things that we're going to be talking about that we are doing. The theme of the day is fighting against federal overreach. That's the big theme. And I will tell you this. I just got off of Nicole Wallace's show on MS Now a little bit ago, and she asked a question. She asked about what we are seeing on the ground in Minnesota and whether the courage of the people on the ground can tell us something. And I responded by saying that it does tell us something. It tells us that in the past year, there is an extraordinary side-by-side in this country. On one side of the screen, you see cowardice, and on one side, you see courage. And the folks on the side of the screen representing cowardice are all of the elites and all of the institutions who have failed to stand up to a wannabe dictator in the White House. Not a mean guy in the White House, not a guy who's too conservative for some people's tastes, a wannabe dictator in the White House. And those have been law firms, and those have been institutions of education in this country. Those have been loads of business leaders in America. Those have been foreign leaders all across the world. People scared to stand up to Donald Trump and say the truth. But on the other side of the screen, you have seen you. You have seen yourself. You have seen your fellow Americans in Minnesota. You have seen people on the ground going out, taking the risk, protesting, taking their phone, filming ICE's abuses of power, literally blowing the whistle on federal misconduct, and in some cases, giving their lives for the cause. And today, we'll add one more thing to the ledger, the courage side of the ledger, another grassroots movement stepping up and fighting back against what this administration is doing. Also today, we have with us our friend Ezra Levin from Indivisible to make a special announcement. We will bring in some extraordinary guests after that. And then in the back half of the program, we will bring back Larry Krasner, the district attorney of Philadelphia, who many of you saw in a viral video on this program 2 weeks ago. After that viral video where Larry Krasner said he would prosecute ICE agents who break the law in Philadelphia, we brought him onto the program a week later, 7 days ago, and had a conversation with Larry Krasner. And there was something he said in that conversation that sparked an effort that will soon become a movement. This is Defiance Daily, dispatches for the defiant, and we welcome you to the weekly mission brief. We're going to start off by talking about the Defiance win of the week, and it is this. Everyone, loads of people around this country are uninstalling TikTok. Now, that may come as a disappointment to some folks that are frequent TikTok users, but I will say this. There's an important reason. It came out this week that platform is apparently shadow banning any references that are critical to Donald Trump or conversations about Jeffrey Epstein or talk of what's happening in Minnesota. We are seeing the censorship on TikTok that the Trump administration wants you to see. And why is that? Well, we're going to dig into that today. But in part, it's because one of Donald Trump's allies, Larry Ellison and Paramount Skydance, now have a foothold of ownership of that platform. Coincidence? I hardly doubt it. Take a look at a video here.
I'm really at the point of deleting this app.
TikTok is censoring us.
Let me show you the censorship. Let me just show you. Tonight, some TikTokers threatening to stop the scroll.
We are posting factual, political information, and they are censoring our content.
Alleging the app is suppressing videos about the fatal shootings in Minneapolis.
TikTok USA is broken.
Aaron Parnas, a political content creator, showing one video he posted that appeared to receive more than 200 comments, but listed 0 views.
Couldn't post, couldn't see it.
Democratic Senator Chris Murphy also among those calling out the app. Singer Billie Eilish, too.
I find it very interesting that this is the video that is going to get blocked.
But the issues appeared to extend beyond videos about ICE. People flooding social media, complaining about everything from problems with the main For You page and commenting to complications editing and posting. The company blaming disruptions on a power outage, writing, "We're working with our data center partner to stabilize our service." NBC News reached out to TikTok about specific allegations of censorship, and the company said all issues stemmed from the outage.
It looks like we have to rebuild our FYPs.
But it all comes just days after the U.S. and China reached a deal passing control of TikTok's U.S. operations to a group of investors backed by President Trump.
It's a lot of things happening all at once. We don't have any insight into how they're changing or moving or adjusting. Could be bad timing, could be by design. We really don't know.
But many users remain skeptical.
I am deleting all of my videos from TikTok.
A rocky start as TikTok enters a new U.S. chapter with millions watching. Savannah Sellers, NBC News.
Okay, so while this story may seem like a loss, may sound like state-owned media taking over, or at least allies of the state taking over a massive social media platform and censoring it, we in the Defiance community are taking this as a win. Why? Because ordinary Americans are stepping up, deleting the app, speaking out, filming themselves, talking about the censorship. They are unafraid. They are not capitulating to this. So we would encourage those of you who are watching today, join that movement. Uninstall TikTok until they make the necessary changes. And in the meantime, we will be a little bit hypocritical here at Defiance. We're going to stay on the platform, but for the purposes of urging people, get the hell out of here until they fix this problem. You will see us running around the room on TikTok trying to get people to wake up to what is happening. I'm going to show you a slide of the uninstalls so you can take a look at the data here. As reported by CNBC, uninstalls are up 150% over the last 5 days. So you too can join that effort and send a message to the new corporate parents of TikTok USA. Okay, I want to bring in one of our special guests today. First, let's bring in my Defiance.org co-founder, Xander Schultz. Hello, Xander. Welcome to the conversation, my friend. We have a big show today. Maybe you're there. Maybe you're not there. There he is. How are you, brother?
I'm checking my mute button first.
That's good. I love that. I love that. I love.
Great to see you, buddy.
I just want to say, next person that we're going to bring on here, I don't think he intended to become a celebrity of the pro-democracy movement, but I hope that Ezra knows that what he has done, what his partner has done in building Indivisible, has made him a hero to a lot of people. It really has. They have brought together Americans, myself included, who've never been to protests before in their lives. And people have been on, I think, pins and needles, Xander, for the past few months, wanting to know when's the next opportunity that Indivisible is going to call Americans out into the streets to protest this regime's lawlessness. And Xander, we got an answer today, didn't we?
Yeah, we do. But I'm not gonna scoop Ezra. Let's let Ezra share what he's got cooking.
Yeah, Ezra, welcome to the program.
You're embarrassing me with that intro, y'all. Look, I want to be clear. Look, I'm gone tomorrow. The folks in Minneapolis are still organizing. I'm gone tomorrow. There are people in every single part of this country organizing. This is not a movement that is being led by anybody appearing as a talking head. This is a movement being led by normal, everyday people. So anybody watching this, just want to be clear. Don't wait for somebody to tap you on your shoulder. You go lead now.
That's great. And Ezra, you're going to be annoyed with me for saying this. You did that intentionally. You built a decentralized effort that could live beyond you after a lot of people in our movement created organizations and movements that had this key man risk that were built around them and their identity and their thought leadership. And we saw a lot of those collapse and be attacked, especially in this era. And so that's all true. And I still want to give you props for being thoughtful about creating something that was designed to do just that.
I think we did not intend to create it. We put out a Google Doc with a lot of typos and people took it up and formed something. So I'm thankful that they took it. And I'm as surprised as the rest of y'all.
Well, I'll say in that spirit, I think this next phase compared to the response to the first Trump administration, compared to the intervening period, is all about people who are willing to move very fast, build something on a Google Doc, not do months and months of focus groups to figure out whether they should take action. It's just going. And I so admire that you guys have done that. And you made a big announcement today. Can you tell us? Oh, go ahead.
Well, this is what we've seen. Miles, I think you're exactly right, because I think 2025 was the story of elites as heads of major institutions in media, in law firms, in universities, in upper echelons of the Democratic Party, cowering in response to this invincible, unavoidable, unstoppable Trump regime that was coming at them. And normal people didn't wait for direction. They started organizing immediately. The story of 2025 is the story of authoritarians that tried to grip power, but normal people said, fuck that. We are not going to accept that. And they organized and pushed back. And as a result of that, right now we're in a fragile period because Trump is undeniably weakened. And also, weakened authoritarians are fucking dangerous because they lash out and they try to do as much damage as they can because they see the writing on the wall. The walls are closing in and they're going to lose power. So they got to figure out how to shake things up. And that's what we're seeing from Trump in Venezuela, in Greenland, attacking the Twin Cities. We're seeing this all over. And that's what we should expect. But they also demonstrate how freaking weak they are. So over the course of this year, look, we got two goals. We got to stomp them electorally, obviously, in the midterms. But anybody who is telling you, oh, well, let's just vote. We're going to fix this by voting. No, we cannot wait for that. That is not how we win this, because this is not a typical conservative administration. This isn't just Republicans who are running for office that we got to be. This is an authoritarian regime that is trying to grip power and prevent us from having free and fair elections. The way you stand up against that is by preventing them from consolidating power. So I'm here to announce No Kings 3. And No Kings 3 is a tactic that fits in with a strategy that helps us achieve a goal. The goal is what we all share. We want to safeguard democracy and prevent these damn authoritarians from running roughshod over all of us. That's easy. We all agree on that. The strategy is mass, nonviolent, organized people power everywhere. Twin Cities are showing us the way. People around the country are showing us the way. We build more of that. In a multiplicity of tactics, one of those tactics I think are really important. They're major mass demonstrations of opposition to the regime. And we did that last year. We had 3 of the 5 largest protests in American history last year. 3 of the 5 largest in our 250-year history. There was Hands Off in April, 3 million people, 1,300 events. No Kings 1 in June, that was 5 million people in 2,100 events. No Kings 2 in October, 2,700 events, 7 million people. 3 million people, 5 million people, 7 million people. Connect the dots. No Kings 3 is going to be the largest protest in American history. It's on March 28th. It's also going to be the largest protest in Twin Cities history. That's the flagship. I can say that with confidence. That might sound like bluster. I've said it twice before and been proven right. No Kings 3 is going to be the largest protest in American history. And the way we're going to do that is by building toward it. This isn't me going around and organizing all these. These are the normal everyday people who are showing what heroism looks like on the streets of Minneapolis. These are people in rural Texas. These are people in their urban centers too, who are taking it upon themselves to start these events, start recruiting these events, get the permits, get the plans, get the speakers, and start getting more people out. We are growing, we are building this, but we're doing it because it's being led at the grassroots level. And I hope everybody knows that's 2 months from now. Anybody who thinks that we're going to wait for 2 months to start responding to this regime is not paying attention. We had 150,000 people registered for an Eyes on Ice training on Monday. 150,000 people, orders of magnitude more people than have ever done a training like this in history. They saw the murder of Renee Good. They saw the murder of Alex Preddy. And what did they do? They said, well, shit, I guess I got to train myself and my community to figure out how we stand up to this authoritarian threat. That's how we're going to win this. Not just through one tactic, not just through one group of people, but by all of us recognizing it is our patriotic duty as Americans in 2026 to show up now, well before the midterms, to safeguard our communities.
Okay, I just want to say, can you imagine what it was like to go to one of Ezra's parties in college? Like, I mean, those must have been bangers, man. They must have been huge. I just have to say, I mean, we could go on all day lauding what you guys have done, but I think the most important thing is to tell folks who are watching, March 28th, March 28th, March 28th, circle it on your calendars, but don't just show up. Bring other people. That has been the game changer, is literally even just saying to people. In fact, say that to the people you invite. Don't just invite them and say, come with me. Say, hey, Can you bring a couple people to this with me? That's what you should be doing. That's how these things grow. That's how Ezra and team grew the first one into the second one, into the third one. This is going to be massive.
And I'd go a step further. Go to nokings.org, look and see if there's a No Kings protest plan in your area. If there's not, good job. You get to be the No Kings organizer in your community. What an honor to be part of history in the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, founded on rejecting authoritarian forces in our communities. You get to do that. You get to tell your kids and your grandkids that you stood up in defense of your own democracy and saved it this year. That's on you. That's on all of us. That's how we make this the biggest protest in history, and we're going to do it.
I feel very fired up. I think our panel does too. Xander, we're going to bring in a couple of folks to join the conversation. We have with us Aru Shiney, who's the executive director of the Sunrise Movement, a group that's been focused on the climate crisis, but has also been a huge voice in the overall pro-democracy movement. And also with us is Jiggy Geronimo from the Defiance Dispatch, not to be confused with what we're doing at defiance.news, but I'm very, very glad to see that defiance is a word that everyone is using. Jiggy is a neuroscientist and narrative strategist, and Defiance Dispatch is a project that has been focusing on amplifying narratives and emotionally resonant content that builds a culture of defiance to defeat fascism. Jiggy, we are of the same genus and species. We are so thrilled to have you in this conversation, all of you. Let me throw it to Aru first and just say, one, I want to get your reaction to what Ezra announced and what's happening with No Kings, but also talk about the mobilization that we are seeing in Minnesota and beyond and what it signals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited for No Kings 3. Sunrise is on as a partner. I'm also a lifelong Minnesotan. I grew up here. I've always been incredibly proud to be a Minnesotan. I'm actually, because we started talking about No Kings, I'm thinking about the first No Kings. That morning, 2 Minnesota lawmakers were shot. And I remember having a lot of my chats go off, especially my national coordinating chats of like, oh, should this event be taken down? Should it be paused? And I went out to the Capitol where the No Kings was, and Minnesotans were just out in droves. Like, people were not scared. People were ready to stand up for our neighbors. And I think that's just really core to what it's been like here. I mean, it's been really scary in many ways. It's felt a little like almost living under an occupation, and it's occupied every part of my daily life, but it's also been one of the most beautiful and inspiring things I've ever had the honor to be a part of.
Jiggy, I think Aru makes this great point of it feels like living under an occupation. You're a neuroscientist that applies that background to this work. There's kind of all these historical anomalies, the whole, keep strong and carry on, the British who became more resilient in the face of danger. What are your thoughts about how we are going to react to this feeling of increased danger in more resilient ways, or how can we react in more resilient ways?
I mean, we have to remember authoritarianism thrives on fear. That is the entire purpose of everything that they're doing, is to make us afraid so that they can continue to control our lives. And one of the things that I've been so fucking inspired by is the work by Aru and others in Minnesota, because they've come out and taken care of their community in the most incredible way and have shown a blueprint for all of us of how we have to respond. When ICE murdered Renee Good, they didn't go into hiding. Thousands more people showed up in the street and started filming, right? Like, the entire purpose of what they're doing is to instill fear, because fear creates a freeze response, right? That's like one of the most fundamental things in our brain. Like the most animalistic part of our brain is centered around fear. And so they think if they can activate a fear response in all of us, that we will just freeze and let them take over our country, trample over our rights and freedoms, continue robbing us so that they can give all of the money that we make to billionaires in the elite Epstein class. But that's not what people are doing. People are showing up in solidarity. And the thing that can overcome fear is community, because community builds safety, and you need a sense of safety to take action. And that's why the organizing on the ground in Minnesota is the blueprint, because it's not just protesting, it is mutual aid. I mean, Aru can tell us much more, and I hope that she will tell us much more, because the blueprint that they've built on the ground shows us how we can build solidarity and how we overcome fear through community.
Well, so I want to ask Ezra a question, but I want this question to go to all of you. Is we're seeing a transition right now, and not just a transition from defeatism into defiance. I think we're all feeling that, which is extraordinary. I mean, I loved, Aru, when you just said that this was an honor to be doing this work. You see that in some of the most trying times throughout history. And it's sort of when you're a student, it's shocking. You read about these figures who are fighting back against autocracy, and people talk about how honored they feel to be a part of the fight because they know it's a noble fight. They know they're on the side of right. They know they're on the side of truth. And even though it's scary, they feel honored to be a part of that. And I really personally feel like the past few months, the language of the folks like us in this space, ordinary Americans, is shifting from look how bad it is today to we got this, we're going to go fight. And as part of that, we're seeing this transition from just protests to protests with real action. And we're seeing this move towards walkouts and strikes. And Ezra, I want to ask you about that piece because it feels like we are trending towards the thing that people have been putting up as the gold standard, which is folks stopping work, folks stopping showing up to make a point. And I think what you guys have built, what Aru has built, are organizations and infrastructure and a movement to get us closer to that. I want to know what you think.
Yeah, so when I was talking about no kings being a tactic, that's what I mean. Anybody who thinks, look, we need 3.5% of Americans to show up on a day. That's the 3.5% number we hear from folks like Erica Chenoweth or Maria Stephan or others, that if you get 11 to 12 million Americans out, suddenly fascism is over. That's not how it works. You need people actually engaged in the work of pushing back against the fascist regime. A protest is a way to get new people in. People who have never done this kind of work before, they can show up at a place where their mom and their grandma and their kids and the dogs are there and there's dancing and laughing and a powerful display of people power. That can get new people in. But real success from No Kings 3 is going to be what real success from No Kings 2 and real success from No Kings 1 which was not just a historic one day of protest, but bringing new people into the movement and then funneling them into meaningful on the ground organizing that looks more than protest. It looks like repelling the regime at the community level. And that is what we're seeing in Minnesota. I think what we're seeing in Minnesota is heartening for so many reasons. I mean, they are winning. That's one of the reasons why we should be heartening. But the tactical innovation and the organizational innovation that we're seeing at the local level, that's what we're going to have to do nationwide. When they try to steal the election in November, we're not just showing up for a day. We're not just showing up for a day. We're going to need to see at a national level what we're seeing in the Twin Cities right now.
Aru, I want to get your thoughts on that because Ezra just hit the pain point of the day, which is weird. Look, we saw the FBI go into Fulton County election offices today, allegedly to go seize information about the 2020 election Donald Trump claims is stolen. They're literally showing up at election places to go get ballots, and it's January. Are we going to be organized in time for what could happen in November?
I mean, one of the most remarkable things that I've seen in Minnesota is how quickly people can get organized. I mean, Ezra was saying this, but we are at a point in Minneapolis, 4% of every single neighborhood, 4% of every neighborhood is in a signal chat where they are organizing patrols and mutual aid and protests and all of that. That's like a density of organizing that I don't know if we've seen before in the US. It's really, really remarkable and inspiring to me. And people do that both because they see the need, but I think, like Ezra was saying, it's also about seeing effectiveness. And as I see it, a lot of Americans actually see the problem with what's going on. And the problem isn't that they don't want to act, but that they don't believe that their actions will be effective. And that's because we've lived for several decades, but especially for the last few years, under a very broken version of a democracy. Under a functional democracy, the way you make change is sort of clear, right? Like, you protest, you get the majority of people on your side, you win an election, and then you can pass legislation. Because if most people agree with you, you should be able to pass legislation. And that cycle has been broken for a while, but it's especially broken now. And because of that, I think a lot of people are skeptical of how change can happen. The reason that I think the Minnesota stuff is really taking off right now and is really inspiring is that we've started to explore other levers for how we make change. So there's sort of the defensive organizing happening that is physically getting in the way of ICE abducting people. That's a lot of what community patrols and ICE Watch tend to do. There's also a lot of the offensive organizing. Sunrise is anchoring a lot of the protests at hotels that are housing ICE, at enterprise car rentals that are renting cars out to ICE. And those are all also mechanisms that we can like physically get in the way of the way that authoritarianism operates. And so when you add that sort of those elements of non-cooperation on top of the mass protests and the election, you're able to build a really effective mass movement strategy that I think, yes, if we keep going at this speed and this scale and this level of tactical innovation, I do think we could prepare for November.
Can I tell you, Aru, something that stands out to me? Xander and I have been joking about this a little bit, is the strange bedfellows that are coming together around this, which has been extraordinary. I mean, I'm still a libertarian conservative. I'm like this little classic, get government out of every piece of our lives. Like ideologically, that's still where I am. I'm using the language every day of solidarity and non-cooperation, stuff that I used to say, this is how socialists talk. And then I'm seeing progressives say, we got to defend the Second Amendment and promote federalism and states' rights. All of this, but I say that because there is like an extraordinary thing I've never witnessed in my life in this country of people across ideological boundaries really coming together in this fight against fascism, recognizing it's real this time. And that's actually just been really, really inspiring. And I don't know, Jiggy, maybe you are doing neuroscience magic on all of us to make it happen, but I wonder what you make of it.
There's a couple things here. We want people to get activated. And there's a couple things that you need people to think and feel and believe in order for them to get activated. People aren't just going to come out of the woodworks if they're not paying attention. And so you need to make them pay attention, and you need them to give a shit. And so we've actually, some partners have done some research looking at what do people who've taken action, what makes them different? Why are they taking action? And there's a couple things that stand out. Firstly, the people who are more likely to take action are people who are like, fuck, this is fascism. Like when you have that mental switch, you realize that we've broken out of this bounds of normal, and you realize that you have to start paying attention. And the other really important piece there is that people have to feel like they have some personal impact, like there's some stake in the game. And that's why I think in this moment right now, we have checked both of those boxes, and why we're seeing the strange bedfellows, why everyone is coming out in this moment, because murdering people on the street is the clearest signal that this is fucking fascism. And when you see Renee Good, when you see Alex Preddy, when you see little Liam Ramos, it's impossible to see that little kid in his little bunny-eared hat and his little Spider-Man backpack and not see your own kid. And when you see this all happen so quickly, you're like, fuck, this could happen to me. This could be my kid. This could be me. This could be my neighborhood. They were just out filming. And when you have those two things happen, you have this mental switch where you realize that it's no longer okay to be silent. And that's what we're seeing across the country. And it's not just activists, right? If you go on any Reddit, from NASCAR to football to cooking, anything, it's suddenly an anti-ICE Reddit. And it's because we've reached this tipping point in this week, particularly, where the level of social proof. So social proof is this idea that you do things because other people do them, right? It's like the most fundamental driver of human behavior. I also call it the FOMO effect, right? If you think all your friends are doing something, you're more likely to do it. And so when everybody starts speaking up, you now have this permission structure, and you create the social pressure where now it is more of a problem if you're not speaking up, if you're not saying something. And that is the tipping point where we can really start to organize and get more people in. And that's why we're starting to see the NRA come out against Trump, and Republican governors dropping out of races because they don't want to be associated with a party that allows ICE thugs to shoot moms and people in the face, right? So I think that's, like, from a psychological standpoint, that's where we are right now, and why this is such an important, special moment where we've organized and activated so many people across the country. And now the question is, how are we channeling that?
Yeah, Jiggy, I'm happy you mentioned kind of the digital organizing you're doing, because we've spent a lot of this time talking about the physical activations. Aru, your great work in Minneapolis and across the country, of course. Ezra, the No Kings protests and whatnot. But you're also all prolific digital organizers, and we do live in this hybrid era, and you all both are working on awesome actions right now. And so at Defiance, the reason we exist is that, I've said this a few times now, not to be prolific podcasters. We don't care about being podcasters. It's to gather folks together, have them meet leaders like you, and tell them what they can do. So Ezra, I want to first toss it to you to talk about what you're doing to get the senators to not fund ICE. And then Aru, I want you to follow up with what you all are doing to punish Hilton for housing ICE. So Ezra, you first.
Yeah. So look, Democrats are in the minority in the House and the Senate. That means they don't have a lot of power, but occasionally they have some power. And this is one of those moments where they do have power, because right now, conveniently, at the same time that ICE is terrorizing the Twin Cities along with the rest of DHS, there is a vote in Congress to fund ICE further or to add restrictions. And as of this week, the Senate Democrats are unified in opposing just a green light for additional funding for the Department of Homeland Security. That is a great stance for them to take. I've been plenty critical of Senate Democratic leadership. We have called for Chuck Schumer to step down from leadership because we don't think he's been strong enough. Right now, Chuck's doing the right thing. And we have a responsibility to back a winning play. And this is a winning play right now. But we need to keep the Senate Democrats unified. So if you have a Senate Democrat who represents you, one or two, now is the time to call and cheer them on. Because right now, every single Senate Democrat, save for Fetterman, who I wouldn't really call a Democrat, is on board with preventing additional funding for ICE. If Fetterman's your Democratic representative, you should call him and say you were very disappointed in him. But for everybody else, cheer them on. Members of Congress get yelled at all the time. It is very rare that they get called and said, hey, you're doing a good job. I appreciate you. That is powerful. Make them proud of the position that they've taken and thank them into a corner, because what we do not want is them to surrender in a week because they get a fig leaf from the Republicans. We want them holding strong, and we want them feeling that we've got their backs. So now's the time to do that.
Oh man, thank them into a corner is a phrase that I'm going to steal.
Also,
let's go to you.
Jiggy hit us with the Epstein class earlier, which maybe I'm just like, old. Not familiar with. I thought that was pretty good too. All right, let's see what you got cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things we've been doing in Minneapolis and are now taking across the country is that we've been going to hotels that are housing ICE agents. And historically, right, it's when a city is under occupying force, it's very normal for lodging institutions to refuse to house those occupying forces. And a lot of hotel workers, a lot of hotel managers, even a lot of hotel owners don't want to house ICE. But a few weeks ago, one Hilton publicly said that they refused to house ICE, and Hilton responded by dropping their branding from that hotel, and that hotel went out of business. So it really sent a scare message to all other hotels that if you refuse ICE, Hilton's going to back away from you. So we've picked up a campaign against Hilton to get them to cut their contracts with ICE, and we often show up to their to their hotels in the middle of the night to make a lot of noise to wake up ICE agents. But we also are exploring a lot of digital tactics, which we will share. It's at smvmt.org/no sleep is the short link.
And Ezra, just so you know, we make sure all of our members get all the links, all the info, etc. So we're going to make sure they have it.
It'll get sent out. You don't even need me to say it.
You got it.
Yeah, it's a couple of very simple tactics. We are booking up the hotels in Minneapolis, so that ICE cannot book it, but then we cancel it last minute so that the hotels who are choosing to house ICE lose money because they're just getting a lot of reservation cancellations, and a lot of them have free cancellation policies within 48 hours of your reservation. So we're doing that. There's, I think, a couple hotels who we've booked out till May now, which is really cool and a great tactic. We're also pressuring the Minneapolis City Council to pull the liquor licenses of all hotels that are housing ICE, which is like a kind of fun little lever to push. Hotels make a lot of money off of alcohol. And we're also calling on people to boycott Hilton. So we're like, spread the Hilton boycott, say that you're doing it. If you're a Hilton Honors member, cancel your Honors membership, post on your socials. And yeah, so those are all things that we're calling on people to do and to spread the word.
Well, I know we're at time. I'll just say this. I'm in awe of all three of you. Seriously, what you're doing is remarkable. The things that you're doing, they are calling you terrorists for doing. We are calling you heroes because that's the truth. That's the truth. Renee Good was not a terrorist. Alex Preddy was not a terrorist. The people leading the defense of the First Amendment and the rest of the Constitution are not terrorists. They are Americans. They are incredible. You guys inspire us. Thank you for coming on the program today. We hope we can do this again soon.
Thank you, gang.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Xander, awesome start to the day. Let's put up that graphic again really quickly. We will share it to defiance.org members in email. This is an action-packed day of things that you can do.
They said they wanted it. Our members said they wanted more action. So
that's right.
We're stepping up and trying to give it to them.
We'll send that graphic back around to everyone. But I will say, Xander, just so we don't keep our next guest waiting, I want to just say something funny happened today, my friend. This extraordinary effort was announced, and we're going to talk about it in a second. But, we got incoming from a number of the predictable conservative outlets who think that there's the invisible hand of left-wing boogeyman organizations putting together these efforts, right? That's what No Kings got accused of. They got accused of being a secret terrorist effort and Antifa. You saw top Republicans going out there and saying this is all being organized by Antifa and terrorist organizations, which is crazy and absurd. It was grassroots. I was there. I wasn't paid to be there. Yeah, Antifa's getting big. Yet the FBI still can't say where it's headquartered, who its leaders are, or how many people are in the organization. Right. But this was one of those today, and we got that outreach from those outlets. And I said, do you want to know how this effort announced today actually came about? It came about in a podcast conversation. So we're going to play a clip of the part of the discussion we had a week ago with Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner. We'll talk about it on the back end and bring him into the conversation.
Well, Larry, I got one more question before we let you go here. At Defiance, we not only take collective action together, but we pool our funds and fund certain strategies and efforts. And I wonder, it's great hearing you say this, and I think something that would be great to see is you organizing DAs to do exactly what you're saying. I know, between our mutual friends, there are networks of these progressive DAs, and in most cities you have, or in a lot of cities you have these progressive DAs that have modeled themselves after you in some way. Is there some sort of like interstate compact or effort that we should be aware of, or that you're leading to ensure not only that DAs are aware that these things are possible, these tools are possible, but they're actually doing these things?
There is no interstate compact to that effect. I think the idea is a great one. It could be as simple as doing a simultaneous nationwide press conference in which you have prosecutors who actually believe in doing their job, saying we will go after law enforcement, including federal law enforcement, in an even-handed way, consistent with the Constitution. And no, the president cannot pardon you for your crimes. I would love to participate in that. And if you would like to work together to make sure we get a lot of our reform colleagues to participate, that'd be great. Let's face it, this shouldn't just be a reform prosecutor thing. All prosecutors,
100%.
All prosecutors, even the most right-wing hardcore prosecutors who are honest prosecutors, took an oath to seek justice and to uphold the law and the Constitution of the United States, all of them. We should have all kinds of Republicans, all kinds of traditional prosecutors who say, hell no, don't come to my town and commit crimes, even if you're wearing an ICE badge. That's what we
and it should be embarrassing to not join that compact. I'm with it, Larry. We're busy, you're busy, but I got time for this, man. Let's make sure it gets done. And we've got a bunch of friends to start that movement with. Miles and I are firing up something a week, so might as well do this too and add it to the list.
This is how we do business. We don't need to do 10 different meetings behind the scenes and focus groups. We just go live with thousands of people. We come up with a good idea and let's go. Okay, so that's what we did. That was 8 days ago. In the intervening period, we got off the phone, and over the weekend, after what happened with Alex Preddy, Xander and I were talking. He said, we got to rope back into the conversation with Larry. We have to make something like this happen. We have to bring the prosecutors, the local prosecutors around the country together to do something about this federal overreach. And today we have back with us the incredible Larry Krasner. Larry, welcome to the program. Let's kick it off, my friend. So what did we announce today? What did you announce today in response to those conversations?
Well, don't be too humble. We all know that you two were beyond helpful in this regard. I got to say, for those of us who don't know the details, this whole thing kind of took off from an idea to just an explosion of effort. And it was nonstop. It was day and night. It was very few people. And Xander and Miles really were absolutely central to it. What did we announce today? We announced the project to fight against federal overreach. And that project now consists of several founding members, about 8. reform prosecutors around the country, but more to the point, really capable prosecutors who aren't playing, who are not going to tolerate people with masks and guns killing people, whether they are just civilian criminals or they are ICE agents. It seems kind of normal, doesn't it? Masks and guns don't kill people. Doesn't that seem kind of normal? But that's essentially what it's about. We are going to pool resources. We're going to hopefully raise some resources, and we are going to put the funds together so that we can all work together to make this go. If it goes well, you know, much like No Kings, which has been a tremendous success in many ways, but of course, like any other idea, needs to continue to evolve. We hope to continue to evolve. You're looking at some absolutely fabulous prosecutors, many of whom I've known for years. These people don't play, but wouldn't break my heart if we had 10 more just like them and 10 more after that just like him. Wouldn't break my heart if we were able to raise enough in funding that every one of these offices could have its own new unit, something prosecutors historically have not had to do, but they have to do now, which is a unit that exists for the purpose of preventing federal overreach.
I'm so excited
go ahead,
to
Xander.
bring it up on this. I just feel like hearing that press conference you did after Renee Good really inspired all this, where it's like, this is exactly who we need. This is the role we need, is prosecutors saying these guys aren't immune to the law. And you specifically as a spokesperson, that was the best I've felt since this whole thing started, is you saying they're full of shit, they're not immune, and I know how to charge them. And to see a group of you come out and say, we're all stepping up to do this, and we know they're going to throw roadblocks at us. We're not pretending it's going to be easy, but we're going to figure it out together. We're going to combine resources. We're going to raise some more resources, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to win this fight. It's kind of this, Miles said it at the top of the show, 2025 was almost this giant disappointment from the people in charge across every sector. Everyone was capitulating, everyone was stepping down, etc. And we've been looking around for, where is it going to come from? Where are, leaders from any space going to step up and say, we're the force to stop this? And it really felt like that today. The press conference today was the best I felt since this whole thing got started, even surpassing your original speech. It was great to see, buddy.
Well, look, some of those prosecutors are no joke. I mean, I could point to almost all of them having said really impressive things, but just look at someone like, and I'm picking a name out of a hat, Parissa Dagani Tafti. The way she expressed herself, the things she said, the genuineness, the sincerity, the skill level, the capacity, we are in fact a very, very viable form of opposition to what is obviously an attempt to take over the government of the United States, take our rights, take all of our money, violate the laws, etc. And that is because the president cannot pardon the people we convict. Simply put, if J6, if that whole crew had been convicted by us, they would still be in jail and they would be finishing sentences, some of them 20-year sentences. But it didn't happen because they were convicted in federal court, and the president does have a pardon power in federal court. We are a viable way of dealing with this. And if we are able in our individual counties with our constituencies of 1 million or 2 million or less, if we are able to hold hands and lock arms and work together, share resources, support each other, support Mary Moriarty in particular, who is a member, who is the district attorney in Minneapolis, and to put it mildly, is up against a lot. If we're able to do that, then yes, indeed, we can take on a federal government going rogue.
Well, let me say a couple things. So first of all, people who are watching this, they can go to federaloverreach.org and they can contribute to the effort. And contrary to the disinformation that gets spread from MAGA corners of the ecosystem, this is not some secretive effort of secretive left-wing billionaires. This is being powered right now by people contributing to this, actually. And we volunteered as an organization, defiance.org, and our members to, one, give a grant to this effort. We're going to announce a grant to this effort today that we're going to give to try to get it off the ground. And then two, to try to go out there and raise those resources to help stand up this nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that can go stitch together these prosecutors around the country to uphold the rule of law. And with that, Larry, I want to just talk about the acronym head on, because people know this is a cheeky acronym. They know the phrase that they've heard from Donald Trump and his minions, fuck around and find out, FAFO, right? Even the defense secretary was saying that. But when you hear that come out of the mouths of people in the Trump administration, it tends to be to justify lawlessness. You are seeing agents sit in cars and tell people, If you use your voice, I will silence your voice. We see agents telling people filming them, you're going to get added to the terrorist watch list for doing this. We see people who are filming ICE agents killed for doing so. We are seeing lawlessness that they use FAFO to justify their activities. You all are turning it on its head and using the law and the rule of law to push back against this craziness.
All true, except it skips a step, which is that we said it first and they stole it, because that is what the Trump administration does. They lie, they cheat, and they steal. Don't mind they're stealing it, but I do mind they're stealing it for the purpose of lawlessness. This is something that in a moment of pique came out of my mouth on election day, when we thought there was all kinds of election interference that was out and about. We thought there might be paramilitary efforts to threaten people and scare them so they wouldn't go to the polls. And at that time, in my capacity as a DA protecting that election, we did some press, and I specifically said, you want to come here and commit crimes, you can F around and find out. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess they like it too. The difference is I'm talking about the law, and they're talking about blowing up boats with God knows who on them, and then destroying the survivors so that no one can figure out what they did. They're talking about lawlessness and lies, disinformation deliberately spread by the president of the United States. So, pardon me, but we'll take it back. They took it and we want it back.
Well, you're going to get it back, Larry. You're going to get it back. And look, I won't beat around the bush. Let's just tell them, Xander, defiance.org and our members who represent all 50 states and territories of the United States are very proud to offer up this new effort, the fight against federal overreach, a grant of $20,000 to get this thing going, to get it off the ground. And then on top of that, Larry, once you guys have this nonprofit entity stood up and once it's going, we've got our members already working the phone lines, working the country, crowdfunding additional resources on top of our grant to donate directly to this organization, to bring the prosecutors together, to share best practices, and to push back against federal overreach. So we're super excited to tell you that today.
Well, that is awesome. And I am beyond grateful for all of your skill set. I mean, you guys are seriously no joke. I'm not going to kiss your butts too much here. But the fact is, look, I've been around activists most of my life because I had a professional hobby when I was a criminal defense attorney, civil rights attorney for 30 years of representing them for free. Call me stupid. I like the First Amendment. Call me silly. I think that peaceful protest and acting in the tradition of MLK should be okay. That's kind of what I think. So I've seen a lot of really good organizers, really good movement people, really good activists, but you guys know how to get it done. And I got to say, that's incredibly impressive. Obviously, the people who are with you in Defiance must know how to get it done too. It's almost as if you get things done about 5 times as fast as most of us, and about 25 times as fast as government, which is pretty great.
Larry, the secret sauce is you just have to have a young child, and it means you never sleep, right? So Xander and I never sleep.
You might as well use that time.
So you got to use that time. I do have to say, Larry, before we keep the conversation going with you, there's just one person that I want to call out in a big way. Our producer, Mercedes O'Brien, is not just a producer of Defiance Daily. She is like 10 people in one, a patriot of the highest order, a remarkable person who has just carried such a heavy load for this organization. We are so grateful for her. You often don't see her on the screen, except maybe occasionally when she slips into the top of a program. But we love her. We're so grateful for her, and she deserves all the recognition and credit for helping make this organization move fast. So I just want to put that out there.
The only reason we can build this stuff is because Miles and I are allowed to neglect our work because Mercedes holds it all together. So we can
That's right. That's so true. That's so true. But Larry, you guys announced today that as soon as next week, you're going to bring these prosecutors together. And hopefully that's going to happen in Washington, D.C. to send a message. What do you want to happen at this first gathering of prosecutors? What will move the ball forward in making sure that we hold the federal government accountable?
Well, what I want to have happen there is get together this tight bunch of people. Let's make sure we have all our ducks in order. Let's figure out standards for additional people to be members. Let's look at what resources are raised and might be raised, and then let's see what we can do to move forward. There's nothing we would rather see than ICE and all these other governmental and military institutions do not invade our cities, do not endanger our people, do not harm our public safety. But we know that's not going to stop all by itself. So we will have to chart a course. I'm not giving the playbook to the other side, but let me just say this. The playbook will be written in portions of laws that are state laws. It will be written in portions of constitutions that are either state or federal. And the playbook is serious. We all understand what we're doing here. We understand the risks that go with standing up to fascist wannabes at a time when they have remarkable levels of power. And we're all about that. I mean, frankly, it's the least we can do. So we will be in DC late next week. We look forward to getting together and the synergy that we can produce when we all wrap ourselves around the efforts in Minneapolis and wrap ourselves around each other's efforts.
Well, Larry, we're honored to be partnered with you, man. This was magic. And, you know, shout out to you too. There's, you know, you said there's some activists that move slowly. Most of the elected officials I know move at the speed of molasses. And the fact that you were so down to jump in and kind of trust the process and knew we weren't going to get everything right. We were going to make some mistakes. That is the type of risk tolerance we want to see from our leaders right now. As most are measured in doing, you know, running things as business as usual, we need to see that risk tolerance. We know we're underdogs. We know this is a hard fight, and we need that attitude. So thank you for leading there, and we're excited to continue to support you as this thing moves forward. And yes, thank you for your leadership.
Well, and folks, if you're watching, you can support this effort. Go to federaloverreach.org. You also can find links to it on our website at defiance.org. Support this new initiative. This is going to be a real game changer here. You saw earlier, we mentioned TikTok. You can do that today. Uninstall TikTok and spread the word, but also support this new effort, the FAFO project and initiative. Also, I will just add one thing, Larry. The other week, I mean, none of this was planned, but the other week, you know, when we had you on, actually, I think it was before we had you on, we urged folks in our ecosystem all around the country to get in touch with their police chiefs and their local prosecutors to ask them, what is your plan to deal with ICE agents or CBP agents or other DHS officers who break the law in your jurisdiction? Now we're going to be able to have all of our members and supporters go back to their local prosecutors and say, hold that thought. I'll tell you what you can do. You can go join the Project for the Fight Against Federal Overreach. It now exists, and you can be a part of it. So we're going to get our members going around the country to make sure your ranks swell from the 9 founding participants in major cities to an army.
That would be awesome. And as you know, nothing more irritating to an elected than a phone call from a local zip code. Nothing gets them more fired up than that. So,
well, I'll tell you what, Larry, I heard your phone ringing. I know we got to let you go. I imagine you're a little bit like Batman, like the bat signal's going off right now. There's going to be images from Philadelphia of a caped crusader in a costume probably in 10 or 15 minutes. We'll let you get back to it. We're so grateful for you, my friend, and we'll have you back on here to talk about the progress of FAFO.
Thank you both. Thank you for everything. Stay in the fight.
Thank you, sir.
Xander, what a day.
What a day. What a day. We're doing it. I mean, I'll say, look, I text you this morning. By the way, gang, Miles is a machine. You should know Miles Taylor is such a machine.
Actually, look underneath. He's just a machine.
No. Miles gave me a call. He's like, man, you know, I think I could have gave more to, you know, I could have maybe planned this media thing a little bit better. We were on the front page of the New York Times when Miles was saying this. So Miles, you know, with this new effort. And so I just want to give you a shout out, and I'll say, God damn it, dude, it feels good to land like real haymakers. And this feels like it hasn't landed yet. I know we're building the community. I know these guys have to sort out, you know, what to do and how to score goals. But I believe in it. I believe in building these types of entities. And if we can, at Defiance, serve as this middle layer that's both lifting up things that exist that are effective, and when they don't, just like the whistles,
make them.
Just like, you know, the troop
just
whistle.
Go make
it. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. If we find the right people, like a Larry Krasner, that will lead it, that will be the spokesperson, you can stand it up fast. And they need the help. They need the help from us, our community. They need the help from us as creatives. And man, it feels good. It does feel like we're starting to build a muscle around landing haymakers against the regime.
But this is real. This is real stuff. I mean, these prosecutors, with the help of folks in the Defiance ecosystem, what we've built here, are going to assemble next week in the nation's capital to start doing the thing I think we all kind of hoped was already happening, but that's a big lesson in this moment. You cannot expect someone else is doing it. You cannot say, well, other people are going to show up at No King's Day 3 to protect our democracy. I can stay home. No, you have to go do shit. And I was so glad that Xander asked that question when we had Larry on 8 days ago. It was almost an afterthought, Xander. You were like, hey, by the way, like, clearly the prosecutors around the country are talking to each other, right, about how to prosecute federal officers engaging in assaults and violent action and murder and warrantless arrests in their districts, right? They're all talking. Larry's like, no, that doesn't exist. Well, shoot, that needs to exist. We need them talking to each other. And I got to say, big shout out to Mary Moriarty, who's the prosecutor for Hennepin County that oversees Minneapolis in Minnesota. She is a part of this effort. She wasn't able to join the press conference today. She's a little busy in Minneapolis, but she is there on ground zero. We have one of the key prosecutors that needs to be a part of this network, immediately a part of this network. So, Xander, huge shout out to you for catalyzing this into existence. And a big thanks to defiance.org members. So let me just say one more time, folks, go to federaloverreach.org. If you can support. If you can't and you just want to sign up to see how you can participate, please do that. We will give you guidance on how to reach out to your local prosecutor, urge them to become a part of this effort, and to make sure that we're fighting back against federal overreach. And again, to be clear, this is not fighting everything Donald Trump's doing. This is not fighting lawful actions of the administration. These are local prosecutors rightfully defending the constitutional and state rights of their citizens. That's what this is all about. Lawful, peaceful, and defiant. That's what we're all about. So please go support that effort. Xander, what else can folks expect to see in their inboxes in the wake of the weekly mission brief?
We've got actions galore this week. I don't know, Mercedes, if you have those graphics. I can share my screen if not. There we go. So 5 actions this week. I couldn't even fit it all on one slide. Ooh. 1, join your local Indivisible group. You're going to get all this in your inbox, by the way, so don't rush to go grab a pen and write this down. You will get this in your inbox. Join your local Indivisible group. They will be the ones that are giving you directions and organizing you into No Kings 3. 2, pressure senators to defund ICE. It's a critical moment. We were all disappointed in the House earlier. We don't have to be disappointed in the Senate. Hopefully, let's get our hopes up one more time. Let's put some energy towards this, and let's see if our senators will step up and meet the moment. 3, you heard from Aru. They're taking action against the Hilton for housing ICE. This isn't just about the Hilton, though. Every time, just like with Disney, every time we win one of these battles against a corporation that's capitulating, we set a precedent. It's not just about defeating them. It's about letting all the other corporations know what happens when you stand up for authoritarianism and against democracy. And so that's a big action. Mercedes, I'm ready for slide number 2. You just heard a lot about it. FAFO. I'm in love with the acronym. It was Larry's idea. I can't claim credit for it, but I'm leaning in as hard as possible. I love this, not only, the effort, but the spirit in which the effort is being taken on, which is just complete fearlessness. And then finally, if you can, it's funny. We listed this as a as kind of like our heroic defiance of the day. And it might not seem like a big deal to uninstall an app in the same vein as some of the other kind of heroic efforts we've seen. It's hard, gang. These are the greatest behavioral scientists in the world that have convinced us to stare at these screens and on their apps for 2 hours a day. It is hard to turn away from one of those if you rely on it. But we have to understand that TikTok, just like Twitter before it, is now in the hands of a regime ally. Its algorithm will be manipulated. This will be a place that is used to stoke the flames of polarization and divide this country. And so if you can, in fact, I'm going to do it right now. Why not?
Do it right now. I mean, look,
we can do it together. We can complete this action together.
Well, I don't even have TikTok on my phone, so I can't do it. But as Xander's doing it, I will just say this worked with Disney. I mean, it got Disney to shift from capitulation to, I wouldn't say courage, but to back off of the censorship of Jimmy Kimmel's, because y'all out there took actions. That's happening right now. You can be a part of it right now. Xander's going to show us what we got, buddy. There it goes. Yeah. Right. Now you see it. And now you don't. I can't see your screen. Oh, there we go. Yeah, delete. Press the red one.
Just trust me. It's not there anymore.
There you go. Bravo, my friend.
The drum roll moment I thought it would be.
That's so good to see. One other ask for folks. I don't know if we have the badge. Do we, Xander, have the graphic? No.
We don't have the badge. Sorry.
We don't have the badge. Look, when we send out to the, if you're a defiance.org member, there's a 6th ask. I'm so sorry. But you know what? I'm going to blame someone.
It'll be there.
There is a wonderful woman watching right now who pulled me aside in the airport over the holidays after Christmas, who watches this program with some of her friends. Shout out to you guys if you're gathered this Wednesday to watch it. And she said something to me. I said, what could we do better on Defiance Daily? And she thanked us for what the organization's doing. She said, you can give us more actions. That conversation is why I went back to Xander and company. I said, people want more action. So a sixth action today is going to be Defiance.org members. We're going to share out a badge for you that says that this week you helped mobilize Americans and fight back against federal overreach. Wear that proudly, not just on your shirt. Post it on social media. Let people know that you're a part of this fight. Let's grow the Club for Courageous Americans. Let's take more action. The momentum is behind us. And if today didn't convince you of that, nothing will. But we've got a hell of a group of allies. And you, my friends out there, you Defiance.org members are brave. You inspire us every single day. We're doing this for y'all.
Is that a wrap?
So I think that's it, Xander. I think that's the program for today. Our producer's down there. She's like, what? That's the end? We're exhausted. We're so grateful for y'all. So one more time, go check out federaloverreach.org. If you are a member of our organization, Defiance.org, you'll get an email sometime tomorrow summing up all of this. You can watch a replay of the program. We will have a link to the press conference from earlier today, if you missed it, of the prosecutors talking about the fight against federal overreach. And listen, friends, no matter what happens, you can know that you were a part of all of this at a really critical moment in our country. As Ezra said, be honored to be a part of this movement to protect our country. So once again, thank you so much, friends. As we always say, stay loud, stay brave, and stay together.